Hi, today we're going to talk about contextual studies in terms of color and culture. And for this class, we talk about a lot of things. We have spoken about different colors and the psychology of colors before, but now we're going to focus on the color black. And there is a word that describes the color black. It's called noir. Now, when it comes to black, black is the color that people very often take for granted. And not everybody prefers to use black as a color theme, but there are many designers and there are many businesses out there that actually take advantage of its benefits. So these websites, for example, represents that they talk about restaurants that uses the color black, like noir, jewelry that uses noir as a form of style, and so on and so forth. Now, noir basically, according to the ancient or the old art movements, expressionism basically gave birth to noir, because in German expressionism you notice that there's a lot of revolution in the use of colors to express their own feelings, and artists like Vincent van Gogh uses it quite profoundly in his paintings, and Edvard Munch as well does it. So it'd be good if you just read a little bit more about expressionism and see how colors are actually used very effectively in this case. But when it comes to noir, this is a challenge for contextual studies. You just have to explore the color black. It'll be a fun exploration. And one of the ways to appreciate it is by looking at film noir, because film noir is a very interesting way to express ideas using colors and shadows and so on. Now, in film noir, there's a lot of attempts to take advantage of shadows in every scene. Lighting is primarily very important. There's some movies that shot movies in the daylight and using filters to make it look like night. Well, film noir, they are basically done at night because they want it to be a little bit more shadowy, a little bit more dark and gritty, and a bit more dramatic. Yeah, and it really works. It really stimulates the mind because it gives the mind a lot to decipher when they look at images like shadows, because you start to appreciate shapes, silhouettes. You start to appreciate the whole dramatic use of smoke, fog, mist, lighting in the dark, the sense of mystery. It's provocative, yeah, and that sense of provocativeness is what people really enjoy being in. But some people don't really enjoy it, but I see a lot of people tend to be drawn to mystery. um, Noah is very expressive and can be quite sensual, seductive, and it's a very successful way to express many things about different areas of design. And you could use noir in a lot of things. Interior design, you can use it, of course, in filmmaking, multimedia. You can use it in different areas. If you're doing graphic design, I mean, using black and white in graphic design is also a very innovative tool to express to actually express a very clever way to use shapes and two-dimensional design principles and figure ground techniques. So noir is actually quite beneficial in different areas of design. um, Noir does talk about values as well, and does talk about philosophy. Noir talks about value of black. What does it mean? you know um, why do you make movies in black and white, especially when you want to express chrome machine, uh, things like that? Would it be more effective? And one of the things that I quite like about noir is the the way the filmmakers or the graphic designers work with fonts, yeah, typography, and looking at how the typography just appears in the screens on the opening credits. It's really interesting. I like to look at opening credits. They're quite dramatic. They actually have a very strong identity. I mean, they create that sense of identity and some sense of connection to what the movie is all about. So, and it really screams at your face. It stays right there. Brilliant. Some of these opening credits, they're quite this font, this typography is animated, so that's very interesting to look at. Then you're going to connect noir as a style to what you're going to do for this semester is to explore facets of cult. So what is cult? Now I know when you think about cult, you're talking about the occult, or you're talking about the Jim Jones massacre or whatever, or the Moonies or something like that. But it's not necessarily that. Cult here really comes from ideas. Cult actually comes from a strong philosophical point of view, and when you come up with a very strong idea, that idea, there's no telling how far that idea can go and how far it can expand. So it really depends on what you want to do with that idea. Steve Jobs did something with his idea, and it became a cult phenomenon. The idea of the apple with its bitten at the side, there are many interpretations to that. Some could be the fruit of knowledge, which is based on the old story of Adam and Eve with the fruit of the tree, from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And if it was said that you eat from that fruit, you'll have knowledge like God, that you have the ability. But not necessarily the case. Now that could be an opinion. It's doesn't necessarily validates that, but it's a very powerful symbol. Osho is just one of many philosophers, and he's got a lot of group of followers. Although he has passed on for a long time already, still he has created a brand of understanding, a brand of philosophy that people really follow. So why is that? Why is that the case? So in this assignment, you got to study and find out what is the meaning behind some of the phrases that he used. Like people like him uses phrases, lines, passages, some expressive things that they say, and they are very powerful. Why is it? You got to ask yourself, what's the meaning of this? Philosophy is really about asking why. So it's time for you to actually look into that. And Leonardo da Vinci, his methods, he has this is just a screenshot of something else, but basically it's about Leonardo da Vinci. Everything you see about on this page is about Leonardo da Vinci, and his system, his way of seeing things is strongly based on his observations of the environment. And Leonardo has a very strange way of ideation techniques, and he really uses that. He doesn't have a set method. He uses random methods, but he's very methodical. So, and sometimes you can see from the other side of the gate as well. You see, although Adolf Hitler was a very much hated person, and his brand obviously is not an acceptable philosophy, but nevertheless, the way he's implemented it, the brand actually carried it through. And how did it happen, and why? Why were people so drawn into the swastika symbol and so drawn into what he was talking about? And why thousands and thousands hundreds of thousands of people are willing to stand by him in this case. I mean, look at this image. You can see a sea of people there, the multitude that actually listen to him. And why? There are other controversial groups as well, that these can be considered as cults, I guess, but they're legitimate, as you know, they're actually in existence. They are an organization, and they have their you know their stand on things. So what is it? And Nike swoosh, you don't really need to read or put a font to it. You already know it's Nike. That is a cult phenomena because everybody seems to be so into Nike. They love Nike shoes. Everybody wants to be associated with that. They like to be associated with a symbol. Human beings tend to want to do that, and even I do. I want to be associated with a very powerful symbol. It's not some newbie symbol or wannabe symbol, but we want something that's quite original, something that's really strong. Starbucks, there is a big difference, for example, when it comes to Starbucks, because Starbucks, you want to be associated to Starbucks when you drink coffee, and especially if you're meeting people of certain status or the in crowd or something, and you have a coffee cup with Starbucks symbol on it, it's something else. If you go to Starbucks and have coffee, it's something else. If you go to Old Town Coffee, or if you go to I don't mean to mention the word Old Town, but if you actually go to any other coffee shop or some other coffee shop anywhere else, any other, it's not the same at all. So if you go to Starbucks, for example, it's a totally different thing. It's a very status thing. It's a very in thing. What is it? It's the way it changes your behavior. What is it? So bottom line, it is this. It's a manifesto. Each of these symbols, each of this powerful identification has a strong manifesto. Cults have manifesto, and people follow cults because of these. What is their manifesto? Now, the question I want to ask you is, what is your manifesto? Now, if you were to create a cult, what would it be? But you wouldn't know what to do with that, right? Without a manifesto. So you wouldn't know how to create one without a manifesto. So I would suggest that you create your own manifesto. Find your manifesto, create your sense of direction, your sense of the world, and try to fulfill that. Try to communicate this manifesto to everybody else, just like how those leaders did. Okay, and then create your own. Try to create a cult around it. That will be quite fun to look at, to see what possible what things that you can actually do. That will be actually good to explore. It's hard for me to give too much description because I really want you to actually put your thinking caps on and actually explore this idea. You can read books on manifesto, and this is just a sample I took from the internet. So there's many ways to do this. If you type manifesto on Google, you'll see tons of it. So what is your manifesto? Now, basically, this is the end of the lecture, but we'll see you in the next one. But before that, come up with your manifesto, and then we will talk about it in class. Now, you are a designer, and every designer has their own manifesto. Well, what is it? Are you the type of person who a pure graphic designer, a traditionalist? What do you call yourself? Do you call yourself a conservative graphic designer? Do you call yourself a creative or more innovative interior designer? What do you want to call yourself? Maybe you're an interior designer with steroids, or maybe you have a different kind of perception of yourself, and you can have a list of some of the attributes of you as a designer and the way you practice. So you set the ways, just like in martial arts. You have karate do, you have kung fu. In each of these martial arts have their own manifestos, their own way of thinking, their way of practice. So a manifesto can encompass a number of things in terms of the way you carry out your practice as a designer and as an individual. So talk about it and list it down as creatively as you like. You can do whatever you want uh, with a paper, for example. You could make it look like a scroll. You can do something interesting digitally. So we will talk about it, and I look forward to seeing that from you. So thank you for listening.